Så, hej och välkomna till detta webbinar. Nu ska vi se om jag kan få bara en chatt att alla hör. Är det någon som hör ni vad jag säger? Ja, vad bra. Tack så mycket, Massak. Snabbt reagerat. Det är ganska spännande att hålla ett webbinar för när det sitter, man kan tänka sig att det sitter nu upp mot 60 personer framför sig. Det är väldigt annorlunda att prata in i en skärm. Så det är nya tider vi lever i och vi får uppleva nya saker hela tiden. Jakob heter jag, för er som inte har träffat mig. Jag är vd och ansvarig för Triggerfish. Och vi kör de här webbinaren nu. Vi ska försöka hålla ett tempo på ungefär varannan vecka. Och syftet varför vi gör det är primärt för att utbilda våra kunder. För att ju duktigare våra kunder är på det vi pratar om, ju bättre beställare blir kunden, ju roligare har vi tillsammans och vi uppar varandra. Så att om ni blir duktiga så vill vi bli duktiga. Så vi jackar upp varandra hela tiden. Så att min grundintention med de här webbinarierna är att utbilda. Sen så är det jättekul om ni tycker det vi pratar om, ja men det där vill vi beställa. Så att vi är alla här för en business. Så att in med alla orders efter här om ni tycker att det här verkar vara ett superbra erbjudande som vi kommer prata lite om idag. För det vi pratar om idag, det handlar till viss del om någonting som vi vill att många kunder ska göra. Och det är ett jätteintressant vinkel på webben, för det är kvalitet. Och kvalitet, det är ett av Triggerfish värdeord, och jag tycker det är väldigt intressant att titta på ordet kvalitet. Och men vad är kvalitet från en webbplatsperspektiv? Jag är jätteglad att den som kommer att köra sessionen idag är Maria, som är vår digitala analytiker. Det kommer vara på engelska, så att, häng med på det. Några vad heter det? Regler då är ju att nu ser jag att alla har varit superduktiga på mutade, så var fortsatt mutad. Jag måste säga, det finns en rolig YouTube-klipp nu där det finns ett Zoom-möte där en av personerna har sin video på och så går de in på toaletten och sätter sig. Googla på Epic Fail Zoom Meeting. Ett väldigt roligt klipp. Men så se till att inte ha kameran på om ni går på toa och sådär. Ställ gärna frågor i chatten. Det är roligt när det kommer lite frågor. Om inte annat på slutet, släng iväg lite feedback. Men det här var jättebra, eller nästa gång kan jag säga. Så att, det är ganska tufft att stå här och prata inför en audiens som är jättemånga, men det är helt tyst. Så vi kör igång här nu då, och jag släpper in Maria och vi får hälsa på Maria här.
Hello everyone. Jacob said it was tough to run a webinar online. I think it's just as regular meeting because Swedish people are silent and there are no questions. But if you happen to have questions, you can ask them in Swedish as well. If it's easier, I do understand Swedish, so I'll just answer them in English, but that's fine to ask them in Swedish. Should we start with the presentation then?
Yeah, let's do that.
I see people are still joining, but we'll just start it slowly.
So let's see. Yep.
All right. So the topic we chose today was website quality, and that's something you might not know as a term, as a conceptual term, or people would use it differently. So different people in your organization would answer this question differently depending what position they take. Designers would say that the website quality is good as well, as long as the website is pretty, while business developer would say it's as long as it generates leads. So I would give you one perspective on website quality today, and that's something that I work with a lot. My name is Maria Duner. Some of you know me from before. I work with digital strategy conversion data analysis with Triggerfish clients. And agenda for today is first, website quality, what it is and why it is important. as I said, I'm gonna talk about one perspective of website quality, but it's gonna be a very broad perspective. So I'm sure that you will see and think about new things. And then I'm gonna go through my process. So I'm basically gonna walk you through how I assess website quality. And this is actually a boring part, and it's a bit technical, and we're gonna try to make it more entertaining, but Jacob is gonna moderate me there a bit so that I don't get too nerdy and bore you, so that we have a lot of dropouts. And then I'm going to talk a bit about Triggerfish website and how I did audit with Triggerfish website. I'm going to ask Jacob some questions. And the ambition there is actually take Triggerfish as a client example and see how website audit can lead to certain insights, certain organizational questions, and take the process of developing the web further for Triggerfish and for any other website. And then once you do website quality audit, the question is, what do you do after? And I'm just gonna show you what I normally suggest clients to do and how the insights we're going to derive from Triggerfish quality audit will lead to next steps for Triggerfish, that is. Jacob is here looking at the questions, comments. I tend to assume that clients know too much, so maybe signal if something is not clear or I need to talk about more. And Jacob, you do that too?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and Jacob wrote that you have to mute yourself as well. Although maybe at the end, it is okay if someone wants to unmute and actually ask a question, because it's also good that we have a conversation. So website quality, what it is and why it is important. So I'm going to start with a broader picture of website quality. We say that in the industry, that website quality is first about Google and how Google views your website and how well Google thinks your website is performing. And that Google thinks in terms of popularity, relevance, and tech excellence. I'm going to go back to those points. And then it's actually how you think your website is performing in terms of helping you to achieve your business goals. So as a web analyst, I often ask during the redesign projects, what will make you think your website performs better? How do you know your website is a good website? And for clients whose business is not online, it's sometimes challenging to answer those questions. So what are the website goals and how your website facilitate the achievement of those goals? Super important to have website, of course, that generates profits or leads or deliver the awareness you want about your product. And then the third part of it is actually how useful your website is to your users. So that's the part where you normally work with personas, pains and motivations, user journeys, and trying to understand what your website should deliver, not only in terms of your business objectives, but in terms of user needs. In the ideal world, you have good overview of three of those parts. I want to run another webinar soon enough about the business goals and how you measure your goals and macro conversion on your website. Today, we're going to look at how Google assesses your website quality, and once assessing it, what variables it is important to look at. So we're gonna dive into the first point of search engines and high quality for search engines, and why we're diving into it is that it's exposure. Search engines send traffic to websites they deem as high quality. So to put it in simpler terms, you want Google to like your website. Once Google likes your website, thinks your website is useful, thinks your website is useful to the users and provides good speed, good user experience, Google will provide you with exposure and make you rank on certain things you preferably choose to rank on Google. So in terms of Google, there are 3 quality pillars that I define and Google define as important. You probably heard about those quality pillars in different contexts and by different terms. So we'll start with the first one, quality pillar as important, that is important for Google, which is popularity. Google likes websites that are popular. What is being popular? And how would search engines know that your website is popular? This is being mentioned across the web. What is being mentioned across the web? Well, it is getting links from other websites. So you all know that having links is important already. What you also know that Google becomes smarter, so nowadays those are quality links that are important, that you should not cheat with the links you get. And that didn't disappear from earlier days, that you always want to have a lot of partners, clients, different bloggers, websites linking to your website, because that would indicate relevant content for Google. The other pillar of quality is relevance, and the relevance is for the user. So again, to put it in simpler terms, if I search for red shoes online, Google wants to show me the website that will actually deliver on my search. And within this pillar, there are a lot of different nuances. So commercial searches are only, say, 10% of all online searches. However, 90% or 80% of websites are optimized only to be shown for commercial searches, which means there is a big gap of information that users look for that does not deliver on users' search intent. Example with Triggerfish. So I might look for what do web agencies do, and I will get a lot of ads promoting the web agencies to me, because ads you can actually buy. And those are commercial ads trying to sell me their services, while what Google will organically rank for this search is actually the articles about what web agencies do, rather than just websites where agencies try to sell their services, or specific lead generation pages. And then the third one is quality pillar is tech excellence. So this is how quick the website is, how well it is structured, how easy for the user it is to navigate. So all the things that are influencing user journey on the web, and some more that help Google to interpret that the website is quality website for the user. So this is the overview of the quality and what the quality means for Google in terms of your website. So to summarize is, or not to summarize, but to further develop, the website quality is assessed by looking at a number of different data inputs, including inbound links, titles, content depths, conversions, keyword rankings, and more. And as I said, typically every single variable we look into, it will fall under one of those pillars. Website quality process. So I thought of walking you through how I do website quality audits and talk about every tool I use. For once, because naming those tools might be helpful and give you new references to look into. And second, because you will actually see what each tool contributes with in building the bigger picture. Jacob, was everything moderately clear by now? Do you have any questions?
No, there's been one question. Ska man inte köpa länkar? Blir man straffad för det?
In the long term, the answer is yes. Do what organically works. Normally, it's still being practiced, but in a more holistic way, I would say. So you would buy links from bloggers where no one would know that you bought links, for example. So we don't work with link buying or link building in Triggerfish. Because it requires processes that we're not going to build in-house. We do recommend working with link building. We do develop link building strategy. Buying links is not a part of our link building strategy. Depends. The answer is.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Good. No, I think the other one. So if there are questions during the presentation, fire away in the chat room so you don't end up not remembering what you wanted to ask. So yeah, so otherwise, no, it's clear.
All right. So Jacob is a good indication regarding how things are clear. So when I always ask him if he understands what I'm talking about, and then if he's not dumb enough, but okay. just good at indicating how clear the information is. All right, but we go further. So as I said, I run website quality audit. I start with collecting information about all those pillars I showed you and different variables. Once the information is collected all together, we have a good filled valley to analyze the information and actually understand some things about website quality. So I'll start with the first tool I use in aggregating the data. It is Screaming Frog. This is a tool that crawls your website as Google would and shows you all the web pages, broken pages, the pages with redirect, the pages with titles, without titles, with duplicate titles. So basically the very primitive SEO agency would only do that. They would crawl your website with this tool, extract broken links, extract meta descriptions, titles, everything that you're not doing correctly, and just send it to you and say, well, this is what you have to correct. This is our analysis done. So look into this tool. It's a paid tool, but it's very useful. And I always start with crawling the page through this tool because it gives you plenty of information. So for example, check if you have, I think someone has muted the microphone, just hearing some noises. For example, not all of you would have H1s on your on certain pages, and that would affect pages that you target as your visibility pages online. So those insights are very low-hanging fruits, and you want to collect them. So that's one. That's the first information source that we're using. Then probably all of you have heard about sitemaps, and we're going through the sitemaps, and this is to see which URLs from the web page actually included in the sitemap. You want all your URLs to be included in the sitemap to make it easy for Google to understand your website and crawl through your website. Different websites work differently. If all of you, which I assume have WordPress as your website, there's a very easy way to make sure your sitemaps always are updated. So this is just a hygiene factor that we're going through. Hrefs. So this is another tool. It is unfortunately also paid. What I use this tool for in this process is to get a list of the links pointing to your website and which pages they point to. So this is in regards of the links that I talked about and how important they are. You want to understand, you know, how popular your website is. And you do that but by not only looking at backlinks, but by looking at do follow backlinks. So you see it's marked on my screenshot. So this is, again, helpful to understand the potential. It's helpful to understand who actually links to you. What are your linking strategy opportunities if you decide to work with it later on? And what pages users link to. So what pages get this, what we call it in the industry SEO juice that you want to utilize for your website. So that was another tool. It's good for other things. It's good for keyword research and content creation. It's initially, as far as I remember, started as backlink tool. So I would say it's a very developed backlink view and functionality. Then SEMrush is another tool that I use to aggregate data and get insights. SEMrush is a tool that does also a lot of things, but traditionally it was to see what your website ranks for in different search engines. So can you see the mouse cursor?
Yep,
or not?
yep.
Okay. So you can see that we're on the Swedish search engine right now, and that's triggerfish.se that we are talking about. And we can see that there are 301 keywords that Triggerfish is visible for. They're doing well. They've been creating content for many years right now. They're thinking about SEO. So here you can see the top organic keywords, and you can see that Triggerfish is #1. So hopefully your brand always ranks, your website always ranks for your brand #1. Then we can see that they have Webbyrå #3 and SEM #1. Do you do SEM, Jacob?
Not really.
We talked about it. We said that we're going to discuss their accidental ranking on SEM, which is search engine marketing, which is paid search and Google Ads, and which is extremely commercial keyword that a lot of SEM agencies, so agencies that sell Google Ads, want to rank for. And here we are, we find out that Triggerfish, the WordPress digital agency, ranks for SEM. And we still haven't decided internally what we should do with that, but we're going to talk about it a bit later in 10 minutes. So SEMrush gives you an idea of what your website ranks for and gives you the page for the keywords that you rank for. And Google Analytics, the most popular tool to work with for web analysts. So this is to understand what I take from this tool in the context of this audit. It's landing pages and the traffic they get and how they coincide with the goals, how they deliver on the goals that Triggerfish has. So you can see that there is a page, Aktuellt kunskap, vad SEO, SEA, SEM, hur hänger de ihop, which was the blog post written by Jacob, when?
5 years ago.
5 years ago, that right now is getting 16% of all website traffic. And no context, of course, because the website does not offer the service. So 2 users coming through this keyword submitted the contact form. The rest did not. From Google Analytics, as I said, I take landing pages and all the goals. So if you do e-commerce, you have to extract the conversion rate, revenue. If you do lead generation, do that. If you do micro goals, PDFs, you have to extract that as well. So you want to get all the conversion information and landing pages. Depending on how I perform this audit, I might take only organic traffic stats. So segment would be organic traffic, or I would take all the traffic to see the general potential with the conversion rate in different pages. And lastly, Search Console. So Search Console, the difference from Google Analytics is that it's what happens in Google without users coming to your website. So the what you see in Search Console for this instance, you want to see the same pages and how many impressions they got online. So you see that, for example, this page via SEO, SEA, blah, blah, got plenty of impressions online because it's number one, but only 1,600 people clicked on the page, because maybe it's actually more commercial keyword SEM than I'm thinking about. It's not what is SEM, but users actually do look for the services and service providers. So we want to see at click-through rate on Google for certain pages here. We ideally want the page with higher click-through rate. So Triggerfish would have 10.3. So this is interesting to explore as well, why Triggerfish.se has 1.8% trigger click-through rate, while the English version of the page has 10.3% click-through rate. But we want to, as I said, we want to add this information to Google Analytics to understand what happens before users come to the website on Google. And now I've showed you 6 tools. And I'm going to show the outcome of this process of taking information and pulling it together. Should I say something before I do it?
You mean showing the actual business, the case?
Yes. So this is a screenshot. I thought I will also show the actual Google document, right?
Yeah. It's a lot of data.
Yeah. It's less. Is it?
Go back. Go to that. Sorry. I think it was this one, right?
Yeah. All right. So so as I said, you see URLs. Oh, no, it was no. It was supposed to be open because the document is very heavy and it takes good 3 minutes to load normally. So, but now I think it's loaded. So yeah, the document, I'm going to quickly show you just how it looks. So it has the information from sitemaps and which pages are included, which pages are not included. It has the information about main keyword the page ranks for. So this is the information from SEMrush. This is information from Google Search Console that I showed you. Those are the information from Screaming Frog. There are links from Ahrefs somewhere here. Here are the links from Ahrefs. So you want to, so you can see there are some links here. So you want to get all this information in one bucket. This is the goal of everything I showed you. And I try to explain you a bit why you want to get it in one bucket. What happens after you have this information all together? Well, we can make decision what to do with every page on the website. So this is good. This process is good to use once you rebuild the website, for example, because it's basically this big spring cleansing that you're doing. You're understanding what you have, and then you're understanding the goals, and you rebuild things. And it's also good to have as business boost process where you're just trying to understand how you can be better. So in Triggerfish case, we just decided to look into that as an example for showing you how to do that and how helpful it is. So the first thing you should do with all this information is to group pages into sections. You do that for two different reasons. So it allows to segment the site and better prioritize pages to focus on. For example, you don't want to rank on the contact page. Contact page is nothing you normally want to target with SEO strategy. And the second reason is that it allows to compare apples to apples. So we don't want to be comparing the question page with product page once we do the analysis. So we assign the different categories to the pages, and there are plenty of categories depending on your business. So lead generation is a common page. Site info is a common page where you write about us, about yourself in this case, about your values, co-workers, and those information bits, they're more for branding and your reputation, establishing trust. They're less searchable and relevant for users at the beginning stages, right? Those stages come later once user needs reassurance that you're the right client for them, right provider for them. So assigning page into a section, and then the one of the most tedious parts as well is actually assigning actions to each page. You do that to move forward with your audit and not just do audit to say that that was an interesting audit to do. You basically decide which pages you need to redirect, to put no index on, to what else you can do with them, to kind of canonicalize, to block roll, to delete, all those actions you take at this point because you have all information you ever can have about the page to make this decision about the page. And then which pages should be prioritized in terms of keyword research, in terms of targeting with more links, updating content, etc. So this is the page where you actually have to, the stage where you have to analyze pages and do it right. And that's the process. So until this time, until assigning actions to each page and assigning category to each page, you don't start analyzing, you just collect everything. At this point, you start to analyze pages and actually approach in the strategic bit of the process. And we thought we will actually share some insights we had regarding Triggerfish, and we had plenty, so those are going to be, say, top 4 or 5 insights so that we are good with time and you get an example of what kind of insights you might get from this process. Any questions until now?
No.
Okay.
I mean, it's always nervous when you're analyzing yourself.
Right.
But let's do it. Sometimes you just have to do it.
Right. So should you,
our business, should we say something
right.
about that?
Right. So Jacob is going to share a few sentences about how you use your website and how your website contributes to your business in general. Please tell us.
Yeah, no, so I mean, every business has its own business, of course, and we're all here for different reasons. And Triggerfish website's purpose is to generate leads. That's we don't have any salespeople. We don't call anyone. We don't email anyone. This is our sales. Right. This is what we do. So our business is that we are ranked high on Google. We have a good reputation. People are coming to us. And then we start selling once the clients come to us. That's basically it. Do
you buy Google ads? Do you buy paid traffic?
No,
so you rely on
heavily
Google
on,
liking you.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and in terms of goal tracking, what do you track on your website? I know what you track. I'm just asking so that you
it's of course the contact form, and there's that's the primary, the actual end CTA. But we're also tracking now how our visibility is on various areas. We have target groups and new employees. We have target group new customers, existing customers. So we are becoming very active on our content marketing side. So, and that's not an end goal, but that's what we do.
Okay, so you look at the sessions that come for different pages.
Exactly.
Okay. Fine.
Yeah, so that's I just wanted to give you the context.
Right.
Yeah.
So we'll come back to that. So insights through the from the audit. We will have for every website, basically, that you have certain broken pages, and those pages are basically, for Triggerfish, those are some links in their old blog post that that link to the web pages that they no longer have. Then 38 pages with update on page. This indicate the potential to improve website visibility on Google once I mark something as update on page. And for Triggerfish, most of those pages are actually services, because once they were writing the content for the services, they didn't take into consideration that this is how users might also come to the page. So right now the visibility strategy is on a more broad and very commercial level, basically web bureau, WordPress. But we said that we will also look into expanding the visibility so that Triggerfish is being seen on very specific services as well. 5 pages that need to be added to sitemap, just hygiene, not as important as the rest. And then 92 pages for content audit. And the difference between update on page and content audit is actually that we know more clear with update on page what is our ambition and the end goal. So I just told you that ranking, being seen on certain services that Google, that users search for, would be the final outcome on updating on page. Content audit is a bit more strategic than that. So for example, Triggerfish accidentally ranks on a few very commercial keywords. So in this case, SEM, SEO, SEM are very commercial, as you know. Plenty of users bidding, buying traffic, or agencies bidding, buying traffic on those keywords. Triggerfish just happened to have this little nice snippet on the top of Google. So our question would be to discuss strategically is, what do we do? Do we start right now collaborating more actively, getting SEO expert, SEO, SEM, SEM in this case, experts in-house and actually selling the service? What do we do with this ranking that we have that makes it very easy to connect this service with Triggerfish activity? With web strategy and Hotjar. So Jacob, what we talked about is that Triggerfish vision is to be thought leader and have the brand perception of a player that does know a lot about digital tools and talks about processes. So although the keyword is not commercial, so it would not in itself generate revenue and leads immediately, the brand perception and visibility on the searches that have to do with strategy and Hotjar and other digital tools might be helpful for Triggerfish in regards to the vision they have, what they want to be in 3 years, for example. Is it correct, Jacob?
No, absolutely. And it's interesting. This is accidentally. We didn't have a clue. We didn't have a reason. It just ended up. So what do we do with the potential? So it's absolutely correct.
Right. So now we're discussing, do we only want to be seen on the commercial keywords such as web agency, Stockholm, web bureau, WordPress, et cetera, that users Google when they actually need to purchase? Or we want to also rank on all sorts of areas relevant to us, not expecting that users will buy from us directly, but having us on top of mind for the user.
I mean, this is brand. I mean, this is building a brand.
Right.
You know, with the bigger picture.
Right.
Absolutely. I mean, this goes for every company.
Right. So this is for the content audit, and there are plenty of those web blog pieces on Triggerfish page that have the potential to be visible for certain keywords. But we need to discuss this strategy, and if we decide that brand positioning is a part of our visibility strategy, we'll need to restructure the content accordingly. And then there was another insight that Triggerfish misses high visibility on local searches. So a lot of users would look for Webbyrå Stockholm, and Triggerfish does not have what we call local lender pages. So that was another insight, which is just about creating certain pages to satisfy those searches. This is back to, if you remember in the beginning of presentation, I showed you this search intent, which is important for Google to consider. So this is very clear intent. It's not just any agency, it's someone who's located in Stockholm.
I have a question. So why hasn't Google become better? If you search for webbyrå or dentist, doesn't Google know where you're from and they present local? Why do you have to add the location you're in?
Yeah, so it's just a matter of competition. Google knows, so you still rank for those words. You just have different positions because someone is from Stockholm, other agency, and they would also have more relevant page in terms of just the location being in Stockholm. So in a market that is lower on competition, you would probably still rank number one because, as you said, Google is better and clever. But in this market, it might require additional effort, and additional effort would actually be about that. Okay. How much time we have?
20 minutes.
Okay, good. Then we discussed a bit the strategy behind English pages. Right now, English pages, so pages in English, are not generating traffic and not ranking much. And this is just because the website needed English version. So we created English version of the website without having in mind, again, how different it should be from the Swedish version. So we might decide to capture, we did decide to capture local searches in English as well. And then searches in English might be relevant outside of Sweden as well, since our domain has a really good authority. So Triggerfish is seen as authority website by Google because it's been here for a long time. It has a lot of content. The content is constantly updating. It has a lot of backlinks. So we have a possibility to rank for English keywords, not only in Sweden. Then we went through how the blog posts were structured as of now, and they have very internal naming structure. And what I mean by internal naming structure, and this is something that we all struggle with in-house, that you're not thinking in terms of user searches, but you're thinking in terms of your own division. So services in the companies often are named, considering how they are, how AB structure looks like, or how we name services internally, not how user looks for a service. So right now the blog is structured in terms of bolaget, kunskap, and nya medarbetare and samarbeten. And we looked at this division and we said that no, we actually have to restructure the blog so that it follows more user searches and what user currently prefers. If you heard the term pillar pages, so this is grouping the content in topics that are relevant to the user, where user can easily jump from one topic to another topic. So we said that given our new strategy to be seen on industry related keywords, we're actually going to regroup the blog post content somehow, right, Jacob?
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, so and the conclusion of that was that SEO strategy can help Triggerfish reach high visibility for many relevant industry-related keywords, both commercial, so the one that will generate leads directly, but also informational, such as Hotjar, what is SEO, SEM, etc., to position itself as a thought leader for digital matters and 360 agency. So this is aligned with our vision.
And that's an important thing. If your vision isn't towards going in that direction, you shouldn't have the strategy.
Exactly.
So it's really, we have talked a lot about our 3-year plan, where we're going, and we connect the digital strategy to the company strategy. So I think,
right. And that generates a lot of questions, because some other companies would say, that requires creating so much content. We don't care about this positioning goal. We did print media, or we do events, and this is how we play golf with our clients, and this is how we position ourselves. So this is not the best practice. Although you who mainly work with digital revenues, for example, you might consider it to be, but this just opens up for a discussion about what resources you should invest in, what purpose your website actually have to serve in terms of online presence, and helps you to understand what is important and prioritize, I would say. Yeah, so I'm just gonna quickly show you how we are moving it further from this process to next steps. So something we started talking about, and you hear us talking right now, is the SEO strategy workshop. So it's informational versus commercial searches. What do we do with English pages? Do we try to rank outside Sweden? In general, what terms do we want to be visible for? Something we talked about is that, that software engineers are hard to recruit. And one way of recruiting them would be creating a content hub relevant for software engineers. So being thought leader for certain types of development, and making WordPress developers and Reactor developers come to our website to actually download helpful resources, and we would get their leads. And we were discussing if that is something that we want to incorporate into our strategy, because it involves time for our precious developers, it involves creating more content, and we don't have a proof that it will actually work in terms of recruitment. So this is all the topics that we would discuss in the SEO strategy workshop, right? What are we doing and why we're doing it? And then we would do, so the next step for us is, after we've decided on the strategy, is to look at the existing pages and do the keyword research for existing pages. So we're done with this stage, and this is what I said, that right now it's services and certain blog posts and identifying what ranking potential the existing pages have. Then we're looking at the keywords we're not ranking for, and that could be, so partly I mentioned that's local searches, digital agency Stockholm, that we would want to rank higher, but there would be plenty of other search gaps that we would like to fill in there. Can you think of any gap like this?
No.
Okay, so you develop in Reactor as well right now, right? I'm pretty sure you would not rank on digital agency Reactor.
Exactly.
So that would be an example of the keyword gap. And then it's the content creation stage for the pages that we need to add to the website, and adjusting the existing pages based on desired visibility. And then it's, of course, the tracking stage, where we track how our visibility improves over our SEO efforts. And content creation efforts. So this is where we are going with Triggerfish and the work we're doing, and we see a lot of potential with this work. And I hope that with my examples, you saw some potential for your website as well, how you can think and how you can move the needle. We are done with the presentation itself. You're going to get the recording and slides, I believe, and we have some time for questions, feedback.
So one question that came in, sites that we are talking a lot about, we just took Triggerfish now as an example, and we're selling something, but there are people listening that are not selling.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely. So why do you need why do you need this if you're not selling something?
Yeah, so perfect example, really good example was, I think, government of Belgium, that was governmental website, so official site of Belgium that was going through the same process. And then the way they identified their goal, online goal, was that they want to be a source of information for all relevant user queries. So then their business success, and that's why I mentioned the business goals on the first slide, that the ways they define their business success online is for users to be able to find all relevant information on their website. How do you do that? You try to understand what searches users do online and which of them you're capturing, because you have information for those searches, and which of them you need to start capturing by creating the information. So the goal can be visibility and relevance in the case of commune. So it's not what you think you want to communicate to the users, but also what users actually search for, what they want to find, and where you want to be the first resource with the information that they're going to see, because that is also important for some governmental websites to own the narrative. So they would say when users Google for this question, some blogger gives them information as an answer, and we would rather be the owner of the information that they see first. Does it make sense?
That makes sense. Okay, so one question: what is the most common mistake that you see on websites? You've done now for this for years.
Yeah.
What is it that you always jump in?
So there are a lot of technical boring mistakes, right? Bugs in tracking and traffic from spiders coming to the websites, and titles not being optimized. As I told you, so I showed you that those broken titles or missing titles, it's also a mistake, but it's not a strategic, interesting mistake. So if I have to mention an interesting mistake I'm seeing, is that people don't know why they have their website, and they don't know how to think about improving of the website. And most of the time they think about improving of the website in terms of making the website better in terms of design. And I think it's a mistake.
So setting a business goal.
Setting the web goals that benefit in the business and measurable ways of tracking those goals. So when we talk about website goals, SEO per se cannot be website goals. When you order website, don't order, we want to rank, because you need to understand why you want that. And I just demonstrated that you might want that to own the narrative, to position yourself as a certain actor in the field, or generate the leads. So this is just a tool, and it would be good for different goals, or it won't be good. So always start with the goals.
Okay, good. And this analysis that you just showed today, how comprehensive is that? How big of analysis have you done on Triggerfish? Is it weeks, or is it days, or is it,
So I think with Triggerfish, we spent 20 hours doing that. Triggerfish has a lot of blog post pages, so it's bigger of a website than you think your blog post date 2014 or 15. There are obviously very huge websites and there are very small websites, so that's very individual. I also showed you how to, or I showed you how the aggregation process looks like. So it's also partly as to how deep you want to dig and get insights from the process. So you can see it with your Excel spreadsheets, trying to find correlations and causations for weeks, of course. We try to do that average, I think, 30 hours, right?
Okay.
In total.
Okay. So it's roughly a week. So one question, how is Moz related to the tools you mentioned? Does it cover some of the tools?
Yeah, so for those of you who use Moz, I think I last used it a year ago or 2 years ago. So it has to have backlink profiling and it has to have, it definitely have keyword ranking. So you can use Moz instead, definitely. The reason I use what I use is because I follow the process which allows me to create formulas and extract. So I'm trying not to change my tools because I have formulas written for that. But you can definitely, I basically showed you the information that you need to extract to do this analysis. So you can find this information in Moz, and those are rankings and backlinks, yes.
Okay, good. And one question came in, how important will it be to have video in order to rank better in the future?
Thank you for all your questions. It's really nice that you're curious. It is important. So it is important to be comprehensive to the users. And that's why Google likes when you diversify your content and adjust your content to different user types. As in, it is important to satisfy the visual users. That's why Google appreciates you formatting your text and not like just writing the walls of text, but having bullet points, H1s, H2s, right? And making it pretty for the user. It is important to have testimonials on the website, more important than before. It is important to have video content, visual content. So in this case, I would say that the rule of thumb is actually think about the users. Don't think about Google in this case. Make it easy for the user and Google will appreciate that.
All right, good. We are almost done. So
Great.
No more questions at the moment. I'd like everybody to write feedback. You know, was this good? Was it useful? What could have been done better? Are there any subjects that you find interesting that we would dig into and present for you? So really help us help you. So we can, you know, we have a huge network and competence that we could share. So really fill in the chat form of useful feedback and what can be better. We all need to improve ourselves.
Yeah, and I think what I sometimes struggle with is understanding how complex I can go on, say, audit and spreadsheets and complexity. So how easy or difficult it was, because I'm trying to create some middle levels that is still no insights, but provide you some thought and reflection. But I could definitely do more or less. So let me know that. And then maybe the topics for the next webinars and what you're curious about, right?
And thank you very much for setting up a good presentation, in my opinion, at least.
Okay.
And have a good day. Stay out of Corona. Wash your hands. Don't go with SL, and don't go to your winter summer house over Easter. Take care, everybody.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Vi kan nog... Vänta.